to watch about a quarter of each one. That was it. The ultimate sacrifice.
Are we in yet, you think?
No,
We're connecting.
working on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Join with computer audio.
No, because they can hear us, right? Carl, can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me.
Carl, can you hear us?
And the town of Lunenburg, who's the
I don't know
town?
if we're going to be on
Must be
audio.
That's
our
the host.
Host, yeah.
It's Heidi.
I can hear you.
Oh,
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Are we,
The
Joe?
other host.
no, that should be Heidi, I
Was
think.
that Heidi or Joe?
Yeah, 'cause we don't want
It's Heidi.
Hey, Heidi.
How are you?
Oh, we're just having a great time on, it's still snowing out there, you know.
I
Oh,
We all set now?
I cleared the yard.
So, yeah, we're catching up. So we're going to try to kick it off. Have we taken over control yet, Heidi?
know. I'll transfer it over to you guys.
Fabulous, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you, you as well.
Thank you.
Stay warm. We should be in charge now?
Yep.
I guess.
Are we? So in the control room, I think we're ready to start.
We're on the air.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we're having the Board of Assessors meeting here, held at the Bellata Room. I'll read all the stuff I have to read first. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page, https://www.facebook.com/lunenburg-public-access-157-427-270-975-305/. And will be updated to the Lunenburg Public Access, the Lunenburg Access YouTube after the meeting. This meeting will be held in person at this location. Members of the public are welcome to attend this meeting in person. Please note, while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended nor terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for an in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. For remote participation from a computer, please use the link. I will read it to you to join the public meeting webinar. It's called https://us02web.zoom.us/j/820-717-57337 ? Password is capital U, number 2, lowercase tx, capital O, capital E, lowercase t, 6, lowercase c, capital D, lowercase gxa, capital U, the number 5, capital I, capital Y, lowercase k, h-i-d, the number 3, lowercase li, uppercase k, I just lost, the number 2, wy, capital UT09. Or you can just join the web meeting at, the ID is 820-7175-7337. There's a passcode on this one, I don't know why, 344647. From a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter the webinar number 820-7175-7337 #. You do not need to register for Zoom. When you will be asked for your name and email address. No ID is required. Just press the # when asked. Telephone users may dial *9 to request to speak after joining the meeting. Computer and app users may use the raise hand feature to request to speak. I'm skipping the next part because it's redundant. I'll take it out in the future. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. I will now call us to order. Since we have some Zoom participants, we should introduce each other.
John Rabbit, Jack?
Sarah Cameron.
Rena Sweezy.
And Brian LaFond. Thank you. Opening comments. Are there any opening comments from the board? Hearing,
I'll ask those at the end. See how this stuff
Okay.
plays out, if
Okay.
that's okay.
any opening comments from the public? There's no one in the room. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to make a comment? There's no things up there? Cool. The first item of business is the status report from the interim principal assessor. Rena?
Yes.
Did we
Okay.
skip a couple, or did I grab the wrong one?
I don't know where you went.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
It's right there.
Yeah, but isn't there recessive, oh, I am sorry, I apologize. You're right, I should learn how to read.
Okay.
Okay. The big, I should focus on the big stuff
You could
first.
read the
before
big letters and then read the
The
little
little letters, yes, that's how it works.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Ms. Sweezy.
Okay. So this past week has been quite a challenge to maintain office hours and work within my allotted time per my retirement restrictions. I'm still alone in the office. I did sit in on an interview for a temp position for an office assistant. In fact, this woman had works in another community. But the person we interviewed could only work 19 hours per week. And she, should it turn into a full-time position, she would not be able to work full-time. So the HR director is still looking for someone else to help in the office. And in fact, I did get a call from last week from somebody else from another office, and I referred her to Julie. And Julie was going to touch base with her and have her send a resume, so we're still looking at that. And I've spent a lot of time back and forth with Mike Torello. He wanted to make sure we have all the new construction entered and all the sales logged in Division. Today, Mike asked me to enter in Vision all the new farmland valuations. We get a sheet every year with the recommended values, comes from the Farm Bureau. And as I was looking at them, I don't believe those have been changed for a while. But I did enter all the new ones in, and Mike went back in and recalculated the town. And so we have all the new values in for chapter land for '24. The farm values are a range of all the chapter lands in 61, 61A, and it's the pricing per acre. And last Friday, Rob Tolman, one of the inspectors from Vision, came by and picked up about 14 property record cards which seem to have had problems with the sketches. And they needed to be remeasured and redrawn in Vision. They were actually, something happened, we don't know when it happened, but they were just a lot of angles instead of a box. So Rob went out and he did remeasure all those. He brought them all back to me this afternoon, and Mike said for me to get those in as soon as possible, along with the spreadsheet he sent with 5,000 parcels to check out. So I'm going to try to get all that done tomorrow.
Starting early?
Yeah. The other thing is, last week I was working on the town report for fiscal '23, which must be submitted by February 15th. And unfortunately, the numbers will be the same as last year's numbers, because I don't think the previous assessor realized that town reports are done by fiscal year and not calendar year. Although some communities do it by calendar, but most of them do it by fiscal. So I've went into Gateway and got the LA4 and the recap sheet, and I have all the numbers from last year, which I put on some spreadsheets, but they're going to have to be cleaned up a little bit before we can enter them, send them off to the town report. And I think we're going to have to put some type of an explanation down there to let people know that the numbers are the same as last year. And I'm not sure how we're going to do that or how we do it.
Well, clearly they were inadvertently put on for the wrong year,
Yes.
so we're merely catching up. So,
And I did, I looked at a few other communities to see if things have changed on how the town reports were done. Our town report was very simple, and actually all that was done on it was just a paste and clip from the LA4 or the recap. Most of the other communities do pretty much what I did on the Excel spreadsheets. They put in what the estimated numbers were and what the actual numbers were. And I don't know if you looked at it, but we came way below on the actuals. They estimated quite high, and we came in quite low on a lot of the actual receipts. But I'm going to have to clean that up and finish that. Brian and I both worked on the write-up, so.
so you,
You have a question?
Go ahead, Brian.
I was
You
gonna-
first, Mr. Mayor.
so you have the write-up for the report, all of you have it in your hands, so if you have any suggestions on changes there, feel free to let us know. And then Rita's just going to fill out the numbers that go basically at the bottom.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that was quite all right. I guess we have wrong numbers in there. And do you need any help pulling any of that stuff over? And that was
No, I've got it all done.
You got it all done. And the second part, you mentioned receipts were far lower than we anticipated?
Every year when they do the recap sheet, you have to put in what you estimate you're going to bring in the next year.
Yeah.
And then, when everything is said and done, when the actuals go in, then you get percentages. Like if they estimated motor vehicles would be $3 million and only 2.8 come in, then it gives you,
Right. So the town's now $200,000 short of what they thought we'd get for receivables,
well,
receipts?
they end up, it's just estimates. And it's the actuals that we actually work on.
And that becomes the
but-
basis for the budget?
Right, the actuals.
The actuals from the prior year?
Yes.
Okay.
And the town, the tax collector, Marlene, has been very helpful because I've got to get into the Munis system. There's a ton of motor vehicle abatements that have to be entered, and some of our settlements and some of our, and come March, I'm going to have to put in all the exemptions. Everything has to go into Munis. So Marlene has been very good about coming down and helping me and giving me training, and she actually went all through Munis and did on where the assessors have to go in. She did screenshots of every page, and then she numbered them. 1, then go to 2, then go to 3. Very, very helpful.
Good for her.
So I'm just so grateful for Marlene helping me do that.
Now, is that something that the assessors, if they learned how to do, would be able to do for you?
You might want to speak up.
Oh, I was saying, is that something assessors could help you do?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Okay.
Let me try it myself. I'm going to have to put some time aside, though, to work on this without interruptions, because if you leave Munis, sometimes you lose what you've already put in it. It's a funny system. So I'm going to either have to close the office one day and put a sign on the door and spend my whole time that day not answering the phone, just trying to get all those motor vehicles into Munis. And I can't put the exemptions in yet, but we have some other things that have to go in.
So I believe that as elected officials, we do not have access to Munis. It's only the employees. So we may not be able to help unless we were to do something around utilizing someone else's input screen, let me put it that way. And I'm not sure that that's appropriate.
Yeah.
And because it's such a different system than one I've used before, there's reports you can run to see, if everything went in correctly. And Marlene said she would help me with all that.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry,
Then-
you start?
okay,
Rena, two other questions, if I could?
sure.
Going back, in terms of the recap sheets, the estimates, we do the estimates?
No,
Who does the
The
estimates?
finance director does the
Finance
estimates,
director. Okay,
and she does the actuals.
and she does the actual, so that's not part of our function?
No.
Is it our function to look at those estimates at all, or anything like that?
I guess you can look at them.
Yeah, but I just didn't know if it was in our
No.
charter or in...
No, it's not.
The DOR, okay.
No.
Because I was wondering, how do we do that? I know that there's been back and forth, in terms of the overlay, and how do we estimate that, and going in back to 5 years. And I know this is a new, well, that was on the agenda, isn't it?
It is.
Never mind, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm done, thank you.
No, that's
Oh.
strictly the finance director.
And the other one was, we're trying to look at how do we capture processes here, and, procedures, things like that, and flows. You are our last hope, and I'm sure Linda's going to be great at it. Is there some way, would you mind if we tried to, without disturbing you, just capture the process that you use, and whether it's we just record it, put it on the phone, let that record it, or
Process
What-
for doing what?
in terms of doing your recap sheet estimate?
I don't do that.
It's the
I'm
That's
sorry,
the
check out
finance
the estimate.
director.
I'm saying, check out the estimates of receipts. You,
The finance director.
the finance director does that. So maybe I missed the part where you talked about she made sheets for you to follow.
No,
What
that
was
is
that?
on Munis. That's the
Munis, the Munis
tax
system.
collector. She has taken screenshots of how you enter motor vehicles, how you enter abatements. And the screenshots are of how I go into Munis and put the motor vehicle abatements in. It's
Okay.
sheet by sheet by sheet.
Could we capture those once you're done with them? Can we grab those and therefore make them part of our procedures that we're eventually going to be establishing? Because if she's done screenshots, that's easy to
Well,
build.
it's not something that's going to go on the website because nobody else can go into, only certain people have access to
We
Munis.
can, in terms of the procedures we put up there, that's our choice. And there's some general stuff, and there are things like, how do you load that particular information into Munis? I just want to create a historic record that we can say, okay, if all of a sudden you go away, next year it shows up, Linda, something happens, and we're stuck. So I'm trying to codify as much as we
Well,
can
anything
do.
that I'm going to do, like the motor vehicles in Munis, it's going to print a report, and then you guys are going to have to sign it. So
Right.
it's going to be in hard copy.
So it would behoove us to know how you did it, if we're going to
But it
sign
doesn't
it.
matter to us how she did it.
Well-
But the issue is, no, well, the issue is, I think you're right, that we probably ought to have somewhere a documented process that here's how it's done. I believe that the
Marlene.
tax collector has already virtually done most of that. She gave you, here's some screenshots, here's what needs to be done, in the order in which they're supposed to be done. So
Only-
much of the work that I think you're looking for is already done.
Yeah,
It's just
that's what I'm
not
saying,
anywhere.
let's grab it.
So we're not looking for you to write up anything. We
Oh,
just,
I know, but I don't see how it would be useful to anybody because there's only a few people that have access to Munis. So why would you
Right.
even want screenshots of all this? Because nobody else can do it.
in case there's no RENA around it.
No, but there's always going to be someone in the
It's
tax
not like
collector's
those
office, the
green-
finance office.
It's not like what she gave me. There's a Munis folder, how to use Munis. There's a folder, and I'm going to put it in there,
Okay.
so.
So that,
Does that organization, does she have procedures on how she does that?
it's up to them.
I know,
We're not
but
gonna try
if
to get in the middle
we're
of it.
saying we're gonna be dependent
Well,
on
shh.
it, we need to be able to say that, yeah, we can point to a document under control that says this is how we do it.
Well, Sheila we had just gotten the new Munis system when she went out, so she really didn't use it that much.
Yeah.
So she went to a training class, which I didn't go to,
Okay.
that I couldn't go to because
So would she have the training materials and things like that?
I really don't.
Or when and if somebody else gets hired, they'll have to go to the training as well. They'll have to be training, so there
There
is
is-
training
there
materials.
is training for
I don't
Munis
think
for-
we need to document a process that's mostly outside of our realm. It's mostly,
No, I think we just need to confirm that if we're gonna make a statement, that we're getting information that needs to come from a controlled operation, that's all.
Well, it will, because when those reports, after everything's entered, those reports are printed out, and then you guys have to sign them.
Right.
Everything will be on those reports, everything that was put in for all those exemptions and motor vehicles and everything else.
Okay. We'll look forward to it, see what happens.
The only other thing is, I did get from CAI today a new composite map of the entire town, an updated one, and the other one was a new zoning map. And then all the new pages for the changes, lot splits and stuff. They only send the new pages to put in the map book.
right.
So that all came today. So
Wow,
we're all
excellent.
set with that.
So we'll see something posted on the wall in the assessor's office soon?
Yeah, if I can get a ladder or something to get up there. Not in my office, I don't think it's
I-
useful where it was in my office.
It's not
Should be
really.
out in the main office
Right.
where
Yeah.
anybody can look at it.
Excellent
In some sort of
suggestion.
case, a
Great
protected case.
suggestion. Yep.
Yeah, so that is this map and the zoning map, does it have the components, have we broken the town out into like districts and things like that on those maps, are they all there?
It's just one big, the composite map is one big one, it shows every street in town.
Right,
The zoning map shows where your commercial district is, where,
okay,
you know,
Residence
just,
A,
it's in
Residence
different
B.
colors.
Yep.
The one you're talking about is the one that we asked, a neighborhood map,
yes,
and the CAI is working on that.
they're working on that?
They are working on that with Nate Kramer.
Okay, do we have a date for when they think they might have that?
We'll have to have it to submit to DOR, so it's got to come soon. But I
Yeah.
know Nate and Mike from CAI are both working on it, because I've seen the emails go back and forth, and Heather approved the funding for it,
Okay.
because it was an extra $1,400. That was not part of our original,
It was an agreement, I think it was a service contract.
the service contract, correct.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
I have approved minutes. You both have actually had a chance to review some minutes. Both the, 18th and the 8th? And we just got the 22nd, so I doubt if we, did you get to the 22nd yet? No, it's okay. Did anybody have any changes suggested for the 18th? I suspected you might.
Didn't write anything for the 18th.
Okay.
I'm wondering if I just forgot what I was going to say.
Mr. Rabbit, did you have anything on the 18th?
Didn't we
I'm
approve- we
all set with
approved
all of
those
them.
minutes?
Go ahead, the 18th?
I thought we approved the 18th already. I have,
I guess that's a possibility, and I
I
may have missed
have
it.
a note from the 9th of the approved minutes, and they're ready for posting.
I'll double check that one. The 9th? What's the 9th?
The 9th of January.
Well, we have the 8th, the
We met on
22nd.
the 8th. I
We have
think.
an 8th.
Yeah, no, I think we approved them and then you forwarded the minutes.
Oh.
or-
With corrections, I believe.
Yeah.
You approve them with
Because these are
corrections. Yeah.
approved.
Okay, so the 18th is done. No need to review that again and again and again, Brian, sorry.
Okay, there's a lot to do on that
Sure.
one.
January 8th.
I read the minutes from January 8th. They seemed fine. There were a bunch of breaks in the audio. They misspelled my name
On the 8th?
on the 8th at 1 hour and 13 minutes. Just after.
I'll find it and fix it.
Yep. That was,
Any other, any
my
other repairs?
recollection, they were okay after that.
1 hour and how many?
13.
I'll look it up.
Was that Sarah?
I'll make
That
that
was
adjustment.
January 8th.
Any for you, Mr. Rabbit?
No, it was actually okay, and I had noted that we haven't,
I know, I looked it up today.
okay.
We also have
December.
two sets of agenda for today.
I noticed that too.
It's been brought to their attention and they'll
Yeah.
fix it.
I will wait for the minutes for January, till everybody can review January 22nd.
Okay, have you reviewed the 22nd? Because I did not.
Did I print it up? If I printed it, I did. If I haven't, no.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll hold off on the 22nd.
And you guys have the executive session from the last meeting.
Yes,
We do have an set of minutes from the executive session of the 22nd, which we just received, so give us a second to read it all.
It's kind of short.
Are we allowed to comment, to ask questions?
You're asking a question on the minutes?
On the number that's in this minutes, with regard to clause 22E, is that the right number? I could have
I
sworn.
made sure, before I put that up today, I counted
Really?
everyone.
There were a lot of those.
Seemed like there were 100, but I
100 or
guess
so.
not.
But that was,
That's the total.
in fact, I have a couple more, and I don't, you guys just told me to look into them.
Yep.
And they are correct, so I don't know if you want to, there's just 3 of them if you want.
Well, we're not prepared to do that tonight because we don't have executive session
All
planned.
right.
Is there an executive session on Wednesday?
No.
Okay. So we need to put it on February 5th?
It'll be February 5th.
Sure seemed like we signed all night.
Just for those people who are watching, the board signed 66 exemptions for veterans, which was a partial exemption, 5 exemptions for blind, which is also a partial exemption, 13 exemptions for veterans, which were total tax abatements, and 19 exemptions for the senior, which was a partial exemption. And we do need to change the next meeting from January 22nd to January 29th because it was done on the 22nd. See the bottom? But with that adjustment, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes of the executive session on January 22nd.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. As amended. Okay. Review and approve invoices, expense vouchers, payroll, billing errors, et cetera. We have anything tonight?
None.
Perfect, I love those.
Keep going.
Recommend an overlay and new growth estimates for 2025. So I had asked the question of the town manager about overlay. The overlay last year was paid for through an increase at annual town meeting. So we don't have a shortage, we don't have a
Took it out of the,
Yes, we took it out of the budget last year already. So we currently have approximately $562 in the overlay account. This includes all years, because as you know, the law recently changed, where we don't have to report it year by year by year by year, we can just report it in total. So the total that's in the account today doesn't mean that's all spendable, because we still have some abatements that are coming, so we still have some exemptions that are coming, and we have some, hopefully, ATB settlements. But right now, there's $562,000 in that account. The town manager's suggestion was that we keep the amount at $120,000 that we've been doing for several years, quite a number of years, actually. The thought process on that one is, if we've indeed done a decent job of the 5-year reval, there shouldn't be as many approved abatements, or shouldn't be many more than there is in a normal year. Last year, we had the out of the norm, which was 30 times as many.
right.
Normally having 14 and having 440, that's just about 30 times. But we would expect to see approved abatements that don't really exceed the norm, historical norm. So her suggestion is to keep it at 120K. We can discuss that further if you'd like.
So, Mr. Chair, when do we need to decide that by?
Now.
Really? Before we have our
When
report?
I sent a note and said, when do we have to do overlay, and Heather's response was, well, kind of yesterday, because we didn't know it was coming, so we didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I guess my issue with that is, I haven't seen all of Vision's work yet, to go through and feel confident that
So
that's
we
a
will
good
have to
amount
make
to
some
leave.
kind of assumption now.
And
I agree with you.
we have, how many, are we allowed to know, or to talk about how many things we have before the ATV?
I don't know what Nate has. I think he has 3.
There were 3 that were together.
There were 3 that were together.
Is that the only 3 you know of?
That Nate has, I believe so. And we had 3. Well, yeah, we had actually 2, and then one was an old ATB case that we settled.
Yep.
And it had been an ongoing ATB case that's been settled.
I believe our other 2 are settled.
Yes.
So there are no outstanding ones sitting on our docket.
On ours, no, I don't know how
And
Nate,
the one for Nate is 3 properties that are adjoining,
right,
so it's 3 separate abatement
yes.
3 separate abatement requests
And
in
that's
front of the
something
ATB.
he
I don't
would-
know of any others, that was my
No, I don't.
question.
No.
No,
Okay, so-
off the top of my head, I don't know how much that is, but it would, I think, be in our interest to hold that much, and then what maybe what she's recommending.
Well, I would say that might be prudent, but we already have $562,000 in that account, so we could use it. And I can't imagine
Will that
that
move
these
anywhere?
few aren't going to be much. Regardless of whether they are settled or not, it's not going to move that much.
Because she's saying hold 120,000, does it stay there, or does it go somewhere else?
So it goes, go ahead, I'll let you.
The $120,000 will be for this year's abatements, exemptions, and all that. The rest is in past years. Anything that we don't spend this year goes into that past year fund for next year.
Okay.
You know, it gets lumped in there.
At some point, we could declare excess, I
Right.
think, and then that would go back into the town's coffers for
Right.
whatever.
But this board would decide that?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
The selectmen usually request, if they have something and they have a shortfall someplace, the selectmen will say to the Board of Assessors, we would like you guys to vote on releasing $200,000 from your excess overlay account. But it'll come from a request from the selectmen for the Board of Assessors to release it. That's how it works.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't see your hand.
Oh, that's
back
okay.
there. Back of my head doesn't-
I know, that's right. Okay, I have a fundamental problem with the swag. Well, it's always been 125,000. If you look at the, or whatever the number is going to be, if you look at what the commissioner's approval, and if you look at the law that says what we should be doing, a reasonableness of account will be judged based on the following factors. And they're going to look for these following factors. And as you're aware, in the letter that I sent to Heather, I asked for a certain information that allows us, tell us about all the exemptions that we've given, give us an average number of exemptions, and a breakout of what kind of exemptions they are. We can then come back and make a trend line based on each one of those lines, and then we can come back and say, this is what we think you should have. Now, we're going to come back into and Heather brought this up earlier today, she told me, she says, we're concerned that if you just use an average system, this past year will blow all that stuff out. Well, if you identify it by each line item, and you identify that we had 420 abatement requests, that's an unusual,
So
that's
you're
an
saying
assignable cost.
abatement, not exemptions, because we have the numbers
said
for,
both.
okay.
Yeah.
He's used both words, but I'm not sure what he's...
Well, he's
You mean
asking
abatements or exemptions?
exemptions, granted, abatements,
we-
it says abatements and granted exemptions, that's what I'm saying. both.
Okay, because we have the list of exemptions, we just approved those.
Right, do we, if that's what
And
we
they're-
have,
they're an
but I need a
abatement.
5-year history. Because then what you build the trend line off that
So-
5-year history,
so I don't
right?
think our
And you
demographics
compute a
have
range,
changed.
and you take your best estimate with regard to that range.
So
We're-
I don't know where we're going to get 5 years right at this minute, but I
Heather,
would say,
She
you know,
gave me an
we have
idea
a
where we
good
could find it.
estimate.
She told me where we could go find it. It's in the system, it's under one of the tabs,
It's
and,
probably in Gateway.
yes,
It is Gateway.
it is
Gateway.
Gateway.
So it's there.
Tax certification
So-
tab
So it's there.
OL-1.
okay.
So,
let's be
who's going to do the research? Because she doesn't have time.
I agree.
So if you want to do the research and get back to us it's not on our agenda for Wednesday? Yeah,
Right.
for Wednesday?
When is this thing, when
But
is,
we
it-
can-
when is this
As I
due?
said, it was due
It was
a week and a
due.
half ago.
Okay.
We're past the due
So we are
date.
past due. We were trying to
And
get
when-
something out there because
Okay,
I think
I'll do
it's...
it, I'll do
get
it,
us the
I'll do it.
ballpark. No, if you want to do the research, I'm happy to take the research.
It's 5 years, it must be easy to find, and we just put it on a spreadsheet, then you let the spreadsheet do the calculations, and then we have to define what was the assignable cause that caused, the abatements to go up so dramatically, what was our average years, and we do know that, based on some other research I've just done, that says that we're liable to see something outside of that normal operating range if you were to exclude the last, the last big hit.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I'll go do it.
I'll do the research if that's, and we will be delayed, but Rena, you had some comments.
5 years I was on the board.
Yeah?
Every year, we would carry like 116,000. We never, ever, the 5 years I was on the board, we always turned money back. We never had, even with all our exemptions and our abatements, we never went through that $116,000. So,
Recognizing that we have $562,000 sitting in that account.
That we could
I
turn.
don't think there's a risk in us saying, let's use the 120 for this year, and if we want to do a whole bunch of research for next year, we certainly can have that done.
Just a question then, don't we pretty much towards the end of the year, we have to release some funds to the town, don't we?
Nope.
Back into the account?
Nope.
We don't have to release it?
Nope.
Really?
If there's an overlay deficit, we have to go get it.
Yeah.
But if there's an overage, we don't.
So
And
going
in fact,
into-
that's what this
it goes into
$562,000
that.
is.
That
Yes.
goes into that.
So going into this year, where receipts from the state are down, so we're not going to get a lot more help from there, and our schools are scrambling like heck, why wouldn't we try and put as much as we could on a reasonable estimate and release some of that money to help the
That
town?
doesn't release the money.
No, it doesn't
It
work
doesn't?
that
You're
way.
getting it mixed up. We have this stuff in a bank account, and now what you're doing is you're setting aside some money to pay for this year's expenses. I'll call them expenses.
Yeah.
Be they exemptions or be they abatements, but this money is still here. And this money is only going to be impacted if we have a requirement to dip into the overlay further. if the 120 is not enough, then,
comes
let's
out
say
of
it's
the five-
$50,000 to,
Comes out of the 530.
it comes out of the 562. So we still have 512. So I think there's no risk in us pegging it at 120. By the way, if you peg it at something way larger than 120, then it can't be used for anything else. It is now completely out of the hands of the town for as use in the omnibus budget, or anywhere in the budget.
Okay, I'd have to go, I'm gonna go back, and I believe that I read with regard to the release of the overlay, we can do something that's saying we don't need the 500,000 sitting in our,
Yep.
and we can do that.
If at the end of any fiscal year, the total of all years' abatements and exemptions are charged to the overlay account during the year exceed the account balance, the resulting deficit must be raised to the next following year. Abatements and I didn't take that one. Crap. Revenue was also adjusted by the amount, no,
It's in there someplace.
it's in the law, I had it in law,
Yeah.
I printed off, I didn't know that was gonna be a problem today, so I didn't print that off.
Right. There's one other thing. On the overlay account, you can't just take money out of there to use it for anything.
Correct.
You have to keep amounts there for, you might go 5 or 6 years with personal property taxes that never got, we never got the money. So they have to be written off.
Right.
So that money comes out of the overlay account.
Gets written off against
Right,
the
and that-
overlay.
Motor vehicles, you
Unpaid.
know, unpaid motor vehicles, that comes out of that
Right,
account.
right.
It has to get written out of something.
Right, and that's what we're looking for. Tell us all the things that have dipped into that account, and at what rate, and what over what period of time.
So,
And then
up
we can-
until last year,
Yeah,
for several years in a row, and I don't know how many years that is, we pegged it at 120, and today, we have extra money of 562. So it feels like the 120 was probably too big even then,
Yeah.
but you don't want to go any higher than that, because then that money is no longer available to the rest of the community.
let's see what the numbers tell us.
And it was,
Well,
al-
we
like
don't
I
have
said,
much time, though. So
I'm
if you can
gonna,
do
I
it-
will,
it was always
we-
116 when I was on the board.
I
That was
know,
our
and
number
now it's
every-
120.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's virtually the same.
Translation.
and it's reasonable for us to establish something that reduces the risk dramatically.
I don't have a problem with it. We're delaying being able to answer the town manager, and we are already late in answering the town manager. So the sooner we can get an answer to the town manager, the sooner we'll be off the hook.
I agree.
So, and we can't address it on Wednesday because we don't have it on the agenda. So it'll be next Monday, and you'll be fully prepared to make a recommendation.
I'm gonna kill you.
Won't you?
James is gonna kill you.
Won't
Okay,
you?
yes, I will.
Who else do
Absolutely.
you want to do it, Rena?
No, I know.
She's got no time.
I hear you. I'll do
And
it.
we do have to look at all of the 5,000 properties
Yep,
in this next week
Yep.
also.
I know.
yep.
Okay.
I thought you were doing
So,
that.
so if
All of
it
us
were...
are doing that, that's our job.
If you weren't being adamant about it at the moment,
Uh-huh.
I would just say, let it ride for now, because it's not going to be, we're not going to impact it much at all. So, but you really want to do it, I understand.
I just try to follow the law.
We are following life. We make a recommendation on the 120. If we were to vote on the 120, then we'll have made a recommendation.
Yeah.
And the state has not pushed back on our 120 in how many years? Forever. So I don't think they'll push back on this one either.
Now, all I know is we're carrying a good chunk of money that if we could somehow release it,
We
maybe
can't.
we
can't.
can.
We
We
can't.
can't, because we have to have it for bad taxes, we have to have it for various
But
things
part
that
of
have
it.
already been
We
mentioned.
don't have to release the whole amount, but we can release part of it.
And the only one that can request a release of that is the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
And given the problems we're having, I bet you they might think about asking.
No, it has to be for something,
Like helping the schools stay afloat?
no, you can't use it for schools. You cannot use it for schools.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
you'll do the research, come back to us on Monday.
Yes, I will. Scouts on. I get thrown out of the Scouts. Actually, they disbanded a troop, but that's different.
Well, We had new growth estimates. Those were in the recap?
I had sent Heather the new growth estimates quite a while ago, because I had done, and we even talked about it at the meeting here with Becky. And Heather said we should be a little bit more conservative, and she was going to put in 400,000.
Didn't we
Right.
vote on that?
I think I actually
did.
We
think we
voted
did.
on that already,
So-
so that's covered, I
So
think.
that's,
Okay.
Because she, I think that was was that in an executive session? No, it was
I don't
before
think so.
executive, it was before an executive session,
Okay.
I think in November.
yeah, it was quite a while ago.
Did you, Rena, did you, I'm probably forgotten, you sent out the new growth estimates to us as well?
Oh, yeah, we saw
voted
them
on
all.
Long time
We
ago.
saw them all. They're in the
I didn't know if
minutes.
there'd been an update or anything like,
No.
but this is just what Heather's saying, I want to go to 400 versus.
Well, she likes to be a little bit conservative,
Right.
which you should be.
Ours
All
is
town managers don't go to the actual number. They like to be a little bit conservative in case something happens.
Right. So I believe Rena's estimate was 420, 440, somewhere in there?
430,
Yeah,
something.
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there?
And then, rather than counting on all of that money,
Yeah, well, that's right, that's
we
okay.
went a little more conservatively and said, let's do 400, and so I think we're all set on that one.
Yeah.
And it's already been voted on. Review the draft of the assessor's report for the annual town report. You all had a copy of that.
Yep.
Is there anything in there you wanted to change? I made some changes in yellow.
Again,
No, these were the ones I sent, the document that you shared with us, I was able to modify it in place. So the document you now have access to has all of this yellow stuff I
Okay.
put on it, which isn't that much.
it's two-sided, huh?
I printed it two-sided just because I'm saving paper at home, because I'm not making the town pay for my paper.
I saw your corrections, I didn't see anything.
So
else
the
that I
one
would-
thing I really want some help with is there was a 3,000% increase, or 30 times. Which way would we prefer to present that?
30 times.
Because normally we've done something around 14, and we did 440, so that's 30-ish times.
Yeah, I would say 30 times would
So
be better.
I'll take the 30 times, unless anyone has a problem with 30 times.
I don't know.
I had put in 3,000%, Rena fixed it to 300% because it was too big a number. But in fact, it is 3,000%, so let's not put that.
Let's just put 30 times.
30 times. 5-year resource constraint, So I was a little concerned about putting the tumultuous in there, but I thought tumultuous was actually a pretty good descriptive
Good description.
term of last year.
Yeah.
I'll be truthful with you, Brian, somehow I missed doing that, going over
It
that,
beats
reading
dumpster
that.
fire.
The dumpster.
What did you say?
Dumpster fire.
Oh, dumpster
It's
fire.
better than dumpster
that?
fire.
It's better than dumpster fire, she said.
Tumultuous is
Sorry,
proper.
I'm
I
okay
think
with
we've
that.
got one of those going right now.
There was, let me,
I didn't
read this
really-
part again, just to make sure
I can
you're
read it
okay
again.
with it.
We
because-
have begun this by scheduling all our meetings during evenings with both PAC coverage and Zoom access, so everyone can participate more easily. We created a data collection manual for use during the 5-year revaluation. The board has developed a property tax program for use at the senior center. We have also, we have developed it, we haven't delivered it yet, though. Okay, we have also putting the finishing touches on, but by that time this happens, we will have. There you go. Okay, we are also putting the finishing touches on a guide to how to read your Vision property card. That will be available to both hard copy and via the internet. In an attempt to be more inclusive of the Lunenburg citizens, we are planning to create an ad hoc Citizens Advisory Committee. Hi, Carl! And advisory committee to help us determine the best way to answer citizens' questions, prioritize initiatives, data analysis, and generally hold the board collective feet to the fire, or cut them off, right? We are improving visibility and access by embarking on the redesign of the website. This will include resources mentioned above as well as frequently asked questions. Other information will include analytics, explanations provided by the Mass DOR, local services, Mass Association of Assessing Offices, and UMass, among others.
Sure. If everybody's comfortable with that?
May I ask a question? What did you mean by UMass?
There was some programs
video?
that he identified, a video that he identified that he's going to
Is
add.
there, the association is no longer using UMass for their school?
Doesn't have to be the association, though. We can put stuff out there we want, I think.
Okay.
We have a lot of different videos in there, and you say by reputable, UMass and reputable authorities, or something like that.
Because
So-
going forward, the association is not,
Mass Association.
the Mass Association is not holding any more their school at UMass.
Right.
They're going someplace.
But there were some video resources available to us that I think we could use if we so chose, so.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving the flexibility
And-
to our
In the
webmaster.
DOR, we have videos from the DOR as well, you know, in the training
Right.
applications
They're
and things, so
listed. Okay,
lots of stuff.
okay. Thank you. We don't really need to vote on that, I don't think, unless somebody has a problem. And as Heather says, it's never a bad thing to vote on stuff, but
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
yes, we did.
We should discuss the status of the 5-year
Reeval,
reval. I think we've been discussing it somewhat.
yeah.
As it stands right now, we're still looking for the residential stuff that we were hoping to have last
Mike?
week.
When I spoke to Mike, one of the several times today, he said, as soon as I get those, I think there were 14 property, the sketches have to be redrawn. He said, as soon as I get those done, get those right back to him, he can finish up all the residential stuff. Meanwhile, he's working on commercial. So
Okay.
he's working on all the commercial property right now.
So we have the condos, we have the improvement, lake improvement stuff. We'll be getting the residential stuff shortly, whenever shortly is. Now, having said that, he's supposed to come out here Wednesday, we will not have had any time to look at that data. I don't know what we do with it, and
Why don't you let him explain it at an open meeting?
while that was, we may need to ask him to come out again,
Yeah.
because we will have had a chance to look at the data. As I said, we've not really looked at any of the data, or much of the data yet, so. So we're behind, and the faster we go, the hurrier I go, the behinder I get,
Yeah.
as they say.
And I did speak to Becky, and she's not concerned at all.
So Becky thinks we're going to make it.
Yes.
That's kind of reassuring, because she has more experience in this than I, but I'm not terribly comfortable yet.
I gotta say, I'm pretty uncomfortable having a meeting before I've seen the data.
Well, we can definitely talk about the condos, we can talk about the lake stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
But,
And then
like,
he can explain what he's done so far on the residential stuff, and then we can call him back to actually give us some more information,
Yeah.
because I don't want to cancel, I want to make sure we
I'm
talk
not-
about holding our feet to the fire.
yeah, no,
Well,
I'm not opposed to the meeting, I just, our plan was to be able to approve the reeval, and I really don't think that's a possibility Wednesday night.
It is not.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear about that, because without having reviewed the residential data, I don't know how to put the other data also into context, because our lakefront properties are also residential.
Right.
Yes.
And I'd
That's
like to
true.
see the whole picture.
And I would like to see a neighborhood map,
Yeah, I'd like to see that too.
because
Um,
in my conversations with Becky, things like even the condos, because I had, you know, Sarah, you're the ace on this one, but I'm noticing that there are neighborhoods, for sure. And have we broken them out? And has Becky seen these numbers? Has anyone?
I know she works very closely with Mike. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But she says, yeah, there is some there is some neighborhood differentiation. In fact, she talked to me, she says, yeah, the ones on the top of the hill over there, they're similar, they're like homes, and then you've got the, Emerald Place, which is basically a large complex. There isn't a lot of changes, but they're a lower value, but there's the volume that could throw everything off. And then you've got different shapes, and some are lakefront places and everything else. And she goes, you can clearly see the need to potentially have neighborhoods in the area. And so, I go, okay, well, I'm not there yet. But,
Okay.
I don't know, did the neighborhoods, the CAI create neighborhoods, Rena, on their maps at all?
No, they
No.
don't. They're doing, they're doing a neighborhood map for us that they're working on right now. We should have that.
And that's Vision, using the numbers and stuff, or?
They're taking, they took a dump of all the Vision parcels, and by the site index codes, they're doing the neighborhood
Okay.
maps. Because there's 5 different site index codes,
Mhm.
and those are your neighborhoods.
Right.
Right. And each one of them can once you've carved out that neighborhood, you can set a value on each one of those unique neighborhoods.
Well, a factor, right?
Right.
Is it called a
Yeah,
factor?
Right,
it's a
factors.
factor, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Boy, this is getting intense.
What I had hoped to talk about next was discuss the impact of changing the exemption amount for 2025 for seniors, the blind, and veterans. I don't,
Do you know the blind right now are over the state recommendation? And so isn't the 41Cs?
I
Help.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they are
You mean
over the
our
state
recommendation?
recommendations.
Our allowances are over the state
The
recommendations?
state recommendations, yes.
Now, I asked Becky what was our contribution on each one of these exemptions, and she sent me a chart that I can't figure out.
What do you mean by
Okay.
contribution?
Okay, we give somebody $400 on an exemption. The state usually kicks something back to help reimburse us for that $400.
The state has a set amount, and it will come back on the cherry sheet. I believe it comes back on the cherry sheet.
Cherry sheet per
Well,
exemption?
It's total.
No, it's just a
Total.
Just
total.
the total.
Yeah.
So we don't have a real estimate in terms of what is each one of those worth coming back to the town?
No.
Doesn't the state determine how much they're sending back to us based upon the number of people that we have in these various categories?
It's based on, yeah, basically, if we only had like 70 veterans, they'll give you a percentage back of whatever the amount of money is. Say 70 veterans at $1,000 each, or $70,000, you might get something back like $15,000 or $16,000 from the state. You don't get it all back.
Right.
It's a percentage.
It's a partial reimbursement.
Partial.
It's a partial.
So it's
So
a
do we-
partial reimbursement of what the state recommends,
Yes.
Yes.
right?
basically
So
the state.
if we go above the recommendation, we don't get any
We don't get any
reimbursement
more-
for that.
more than
And
that. On
we
this
get a
reimbursement.
lower percent, well, we essentially dilute whatever percent they're
dilute
giving
it.
us, which I
Yes,
don't know
that's
what that
correct.
is.
So do we know what those percentages are of? We don't. We just know a gross number and we don't know. Well, if we get the numbers off how many exemptions we gave, we can go back and look at one of the sheets.
Is it a line
Yeah,
item on the cherry sheet?
I'm sure it's on, it's probably on, I don't know if it's on the cherry sheet or the MDM1 that gets approved. I think it's on the MDM1 that gets approved, which is
So,
your exemptions.
MDM1, huh?
is it one number, all exemptions, or is it exemption by exemption? Do we
I
know?
think it's by veterans,
Category?
elderly, I believe. It's been a while since I looked at
No,
the,
and it probably doesn't,
I know I entered them all into the MDM1 for this year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I
you
did
showed
that in
us
the
that.
spring, yeah.
So you said we are already over the state recommendation on,
On 41C, the state recommendation is $500. We give $750.
yep,
On the blind, it's $300, and I believe it's $57, we give $500, which is an unusual amount. All the only one that goes by the state recommendations are the veterans. They get $400,
okay. So we're at the state recommendation for the veterans, and
the veterans.
for the veterans that are 100%, they get 100% regardless, so.
Yeah, they're all, their taxes are wiped
So,
out.
so the question is, should we be looking into increasing the exemption amount even further for those two that are already in excess of the state, or something beyond what the state recommends for the veterans?
I don't know if you can, I don't know about I don't think you can do anything different for the veterans.
We can't go over?
Don't believe you can. I might have to check into that, but I don't believe you can. In Groton, what we used to do is the state recommendation is 500. By a town meeting vote, we used to go every year.
Yep.
And we used to double it and gave the seniors $1,000. But when you double one exemption, actually, you double them all. So the veterans would automatically, if you doubled the 41Cs to $1,000, the veterans would get 800, the blind would get whatever 347 and 347 is, so it gets doubled.
So I don't understand that. If we are in excess of the state's number on seniors, state was 500, we're at 750, that's 50% higher. Our veterans are at 400, which is what the state recommendation is, so I'm not sure that they are tied.
I do not believe it was ever taken to town meeting to have that
Right.
amount changed, although I don't know that for sure.
Well, I was going to say, didn't
There
it
was some kind of a
have to
convoluted
have been?
formula they did downstairs, and it was way before my time, on how they got to that 750. But
Okay,
I do know that in Groton, the town manager said, should you choose to double one, you have to double every exemption, and you have to take that every year to town meeting, because you're asking the rest of the taxpayers to pick up the difference.
that's not the case
For
for our veterans right now.
Right,
somehow.
right.
And if the 357, if you were to take half of that,
It's 175.
it gets you to pretty close to the 500
Yeah.
that we are at for the blind. So it looks like we are 50% over for seniors. We are nearly 50% over for the blind, and we are at,
You know, I think a
Recommendation
clean way
for
of
the
doing
veterans.
it would take the state recommendations go to a Springtown meeting and
that was what this discussion was for.
double them all at a
Or
Springtown meeting.
or whatever, 50%
So you
more,
go
or
from,
whatever it is.
you're going from the 500 to 1,000, you're going from the 400 to 800 for the veterans, and then the blind, you're doubling whatever the,
So we could figure out what the cost impact of that is, because we know the number.
That's, we just got the numbers.
Right, so we now
We're
know.
gonna even go get the 5-year number and see if there's any big shift
We
there.
now know the number, so I guess I'll table the rest of this, unless anybody has something to add. I'll table this rest of this discussion until we've had a chance to go back and figure out what those numbers are and make a recommendation.
Right, that's what's gonna, the first question we had at town hall is, how much is this gonna cost us? That, and how much is it costing us right now, you know, and, we'll be able to come up with some sort of number, and maybe we can just go down to the accounting office and say, what's the average reimbursement, and then do the calculation. I don't know,
We can, yeah.
we'll figure this out, but,
Well, we now have the data, I think. That's the thing that was missing before. So, I just wanted to keep the conversation out in front of us so that we can discuss, we don't have to increase, we don't have to make a recommendation, we can just determine that we will or won't make a.
right, we're about halfway, as much as I could see from the other towns and things, about half of them are about our rate, and some of them are a little bit lower, and then there's one town that really jumps up above us.
Yep.
But,
Yeah,
I'll get
There's
that.
one
If you're
town,
mentioning it, I think about that, and I also think about how, in our discussions, bringing up, that we don't have money for schools and things like that, this is something that does impact that budget.
Yeah.
No.
No, it doesn't?
Nope.
Because
If you give an exemption, if we
We're giving
give larger
exemptions.
exemptions,
Yeah, the town picks up the
the
money.
town picks up the rest of the money, so it
Yeah.
doesn't.
taxpayers do.
The taxpayers do.
Right.
And it's not immediately direct, but
Well, that's true. There's an indirect impact
There
to
is.
all of the budgets.
Yes.
That's fair. Okay,
It all goes through the general fund.
yep. Okay. Status of community outreach. You want to walk through some of the website stuff that you've been doing?
Hey, tell you what, I'm gonna ask you to get up and walk over here, and I'll give you a better
Just can't
step.
be on TV.
we have it
I wanna
right
be on
here, don't
TV.
we?
You need the effect. You need to have the effect of what we're putting
right
out
here.
here. Look at that chart right there?
I can just tell you I don't want my picture on a webpage. Done.
You don't want what?
I don't want my
Your picture on a webpage?
Nope.
Okay.
You probably ought to have
I don't,
a,
Sarah, you put it up on LinkedIn?
Here.
It's a good picture. It's a great picture of you.
no, thank you.
she gets to vote on her.
Okay, that's right. Didn't you like my picture?
So
Here, come here.
that really long
Here.
document, how does that compare to what we have?
That's only the first real block. You got,
Where'd I put it? Oh, there it is.
if you notice that in that pictures, you see under construction, those are things that are still being worked. And we've got about 27 of those things that are trying to be worked right now and getting data on. If the part that I want to talk to you about tonight, this is what it looks like.
So is
The
this,
website,
is this?
that is this.
No, but then I've got 32 pages here. Is this
Yeah,
all of
that's
this?
This, and it grew, and it grows every day.
Okay.
And so anyway, we're gonna go with the strategy that you suggested, Brian. Let's put up whatever we got and get close. We're still working, and there are pieces that I've added that, we're doing the building commission strategy tonight piece.
Okay.
Stuff I just made for you. And that's what sets the tone for everything that's going on. I don't have the small piece in front of me.
So does the mission statement look anything like the mission statement that we have that we'll be putting in the town report?
I haven't been in report.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I missed that.
That's pretty basic in most communities.
well, I know, but I don't know what he has for the website for the mission
What I
statement.
did is I went out and pulled mission statements from all over the state. I went and pulled some classic mission statements, and it still needs wordsmithing. So anyway, I will make sure that we come up with another way of coming up with the pictures. Essentially, we're going to keep the first piece of that page, and I'm working with Kara McCarthy, and she's being very helpful. We're having a push back and forth because I'm seeing other websites. I'm saying, why can't we get some more visuals in there? We're limited with what we've got in terms of what we can do with the software. That's the problem. The first portion that you'll see over here is your board of assessors. And those are the that's what, when you first log on to that, you'll pull down and you'll be able to get our charter, our vision statement, the mission statement, our code of ethics, our strategic roadmap, the org chart, which we don't have. Rena, do you have an org chart?
No,
Or
we
work
don't.
breakdown structure?
No.
Okay,
So
well,
what page is that in here?
right here. That's it,
Okay,
right there.
okay. That's where I wound up, but I wanted to make sure I was on the right page.
You're on the right page. Good job, good job. So, And if I could read it, the charter is exactly right out of the town charter, and what we as a Board of
Yep,
Assessors
see
do.
that, yep.
Okay, and our vision of the Lunenburg Assessment Department is to provide Lunenburg with fiscal stability by promptly, fairly, and equitably determining the valuation of all real and personal property located within the geographic boundaries of Lunenburg, and execute the assessor functions as described by Mass General laws, Mass Department of Revenue, and the citizens of Lunenburg. Remember, they're always passing laws that we have to follow. So then, okay.
So, I agree that we have some portion of responsibility in the fiscal realm, but
Yeah.
I don't think we are the ones necessarily bringing about fiscal stability. I think we are assessing property at its value, and then it's our town manager
Okay,
is responsible for the fiscal stability.
we are charged with bringing the money in to assure the stability of the town, right?
So I'm okay with that part.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what we're saying.
But I'm not saying that we're necessarily ensuring fiscal stability by doing so.
Yeah, you're right.
There's
We're
many
saying-
other portions to that.
we're saying
I would like
providing
to limit
Lunenburg-
I would like to limit our scope in there.
Okay. I'm saying to provide Lunenburg with fiscal stability. We're one of the components of that, right? One of. But it's part of our job to make sure we bring in the money. We're the, you go to the grocery store and you gotta go through one of those lines. We're one
Which actually is in our town report.
Is it?
Yep, it says, "The mission statement of the assessors is to accurately determine the value of all real and personal property within the town as outlined in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59."
Okay.
Which covers
Right.
a
Yeah.
good portion of that succinctly.
Well, I'll take that and roll that in. Honestly, I have no fear of, I wrote a book, I wrote a pile of them, and all I know is I turn in a chapter, and it's 40 pages, it comes
Well,
back.
I'm not sure,
So-
I'm not sure if we're correcting or like
Oh, tell
editing
me-
the page right now, or,
Well, right now, we're trying to get a status of where we are on updating the
Sorry.
website, so that's okay.
Yeah.
If you want to, we can hold a whole session on going through the various components, vision statement.
Why don't we do that then?
All that stuff. We certainly can do that.
Okay.
I'm not sure we want to spend much of that time until end of March,
Okay.
Okay.
I hear ya.
because we have some other things to do.
yeah.
Right. So anyway, we've got a division, we've got a mission statement, we have the core values, and essentially, what I'm doing is basically, first of all, saying we're not going to have any conflicts of interest.
Yep.
We're following, as a member of the Lunenburg Board of Assessors, both elected and appointed, we are in fact employees of the town of Lunenburg and subject to mass conflict of interest laws. So we don't want to go there. Additionally, the assessor embraces and subscribes to the following organizations' codes of ethics. They're both fairly similar, that's fine. And then there's a set of core values that came out of one of these. We're going to be truthful, we got a conflict of interest, we're going to avoid conflicts of interest and unwarranted privilege. We're going to mass DOR documents, we're going to follow those, confidential information, and conduct. So,
Okay.
we got it covered 14 ways to
Right.
Sunday.
So my hope for today was to get an idea of how much we're going to get to roll out and when we can roll it out. We can debate the
Yeah.
mission statement and all that stuff at some other time.
As soon as Kara we can agree on a format, I'm icon-driven. The thing of it is, in the last section, mission, vision, and our roadmap, you might want to pay attention to that. And that essentially, in order to assure a fair and equitable taxation of our citizens, the Board of Directors will establish policies that require the creation of documented processes across all assessor operations. The elected board will require supporting procedures, process flows, timely data collection, and timely reporting to the DOR and our citizens. We're going to start writing stuff down. Procedures. Okay, BOA will also initiate a program of assistance to our citizens needing help with their taxation, that we're trying to do that. Policies, processes, data, limited only to non-personal data, will be maintained under a documentation control program and readily available to the public for review. The documentation will also be updated in a timely and relevant manner and will be consistent with the appropriate processes and procedures. All actions taken by the BOA will meet state and town bylaws and regulations. The BOA will act as a focal communications point with DOR agencies and appropriate suppliers engaged to assist assessor activities and town citizens seeking assessor. That might need some clarification there with regard to the rules. But I just want to say this so we can, people go back and say, all policies and data files will require establishment of a defined process, activities, tools, and documented training for all personnel. When we bring in a new assessor, we want to have some sort of onboarding program for this person. And for that matter, our adjunct members, we want to have some sort of orientation for those. Train your people before they start the job, right? Any discrepancies from actual practice to defined procedure or inconsistency of data will be identified as part of our corrective action program, okay? And corrective actions will be overseen by the board. Citizens' concerns and complaints will be recorded and become part of the correction active program, right? We're going to collect complaints. We're going to try and do something in a proactive mode. The Lunenburg Assessor's Office will attempt to utilize best practices established by the state of Mass, identified by regional assessor organizations, as well as the best organizational practices outlined in ISO 18091, the QMS system. It's called the Guidelines for Reliable Government. And a timeline of events, I didn't say Gantt, timeline of events, intended improvements, and outcomes will be maintained and delivered to our citizens in an annual performance review, and that's what you've got there. So that's what I'm saying the roadmap is, and then if you come back and
You'll be
look at our tools kit.
sitting down with Kara to come up with a list of things we can get out and when we can get them out?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's the goal. That was the purpose of that chart. What do we think we can get done when?
Right.
The agreement
Well,
that Kara and I have is we're going to be shooting for the middle of March to be able to say, okay, we think we're ready to go. And I know that I've got at least 25 things sitting there, and I know I'm not going to get to all of them, but I do need for you guys to say, yeah, that's close enough, we can always change it, so I can keep running ahead. Otherwise, I'll be dead in the water. If you don't buy on this front-end stuff, vision, mission, strategy, and all that stuff, all that becomes kind of a wishful thought.
Well, number one, I disagree with you. If we think that we want to change some of that, that's our
Right.
joint purview. We do want to see the calendar events, what's going to be out there, when it's going to be out there, and how it's going to look. And we may all change things as time goes on.
Okay.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
I just want to get something out there sooner rather than later, if we can.
Right.
And we should probably have a list of, here are the 50 or 70 or 200 things that you want to get out there. Well, of that list, what things can we do?
Right.
And when can we get them done? So
I
that
just
I think is
knocked
really
off 2 of them
valuable.
tonight.
That'd be really, really valuable. And
I will provide you with a chart that shows us roughly our timing and the events that we need to pull off. And again, we're still having some agreements, and Kara's coming back. I was supposed to meet with her on Thursday, and I don't know if that's going to happen. We know we're meeting the following Thursday. She only works Mondays and Thursdays.
well, that's the other thing. She's doing the website for everybody. She's not just doing it for us.
That's right.
So she'll, because we are the squeaky wheel, we'll probably get some grease. But we also we can't assume that we're going to get all the grease.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I agree. And that's why we've been sending her communications, we're meeting with her weekly, and we're going to try and, if you guys say okay, I will then start taking a lot of these, just cut and paste.
well, I'm okay with the format, and if we need to change contents later, we'll change it later, but,
Okay.
Sarah, do you have any feedback on either the content or the
Oh,
format?
she's got a lot of writing down there.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm sort of overwhelmed by the amount of content on here right now.
Yeah?
Too?
Because
You-
it's good that we have it laid out. I'm not opposed to the content so much as I just have not had, like, you've put your draft of what you think it should be, and I think we have to sit and discuss it,
Right.
some of this content, but I think there's certain parts of it that, I like the layout of, this flow goes to here, this goes to here, this goes to here. I think we probably have some discussion to have about what we want on the welcome page, other than hours and stuff like that, but, like the meetings and stuff like that, having that link to the property maps, the property cards. I think most of these buttons are like just totally adequate links that
Yep.
to the information we need. I think that's a great layout, and some of the content we'll have to get together and discuss the finer details of that. But I think as a structure, I think it's
Great.
well laid out.
It'll work. The structure is,
I just don't know when we're supposed to.
I know, when are we
do all
going to
that.
get this? This is the wrong time to try and do this, because we're
Like,
up against the wall.
I think having a vision and those things is really important, except that we have to actually
Deliver something tomorrow.
have the whole board agree on it,
And we just put,
so.
under construction, wait for the excitement. And
Yeah.
that's what we've got to do. And again, to Brian's point, let's put a timeline against when we think we might be able to deliver this stuff.
Because as a citizen outside of this board, the vision's nice, but I want the nuts and bolts of
Right.
the assessment
Right.
this year.
Right.
What's going on fiscally. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see centered.
Yeah.
All this other stuff is nice, but that's
Great.
not the
This-
data
this
I'm
is
looking
This is
for.
the fluffy part, but
Yeah.
the reality is, it sets the tone and the tenor for how we're going to operate.
But as a
Yeah.
citizen, I'm not going to go read that.
No, you
I want to
don't,
get to the data.
But you want to know they have an operating template, and this is what they follow, and this is how they do it, and then they're all running.
But we haven't discussed that as a group.
Not yet.
So,
You want some sort of an excellence model that you're going to follow. If you're,
But I don't want you to dictate it. I want the
Oh.
board to come up with it together.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that, Sarah.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is that there are people who've developed templates, and in this particular case for the government.
I don't disagree with that. I
Yeah.
just think we need to adopt it as a group.
Yeah.
you have something in there?
Somebody else has come on.
Oh, okay.
Brian, did you see that? I
It's the-
didn't know if Elaine had sent that out to everybody.
Yeah, I didn't see it. It's the warrant open, for those of you at home, it's the warrant opening
Oh, yeah, we
and
got that.
closing.
We got that. Thank you, though. Yeah, that's the other thing we have to do. Oh, well.
Well, the thing